intro. Stand by for full video immersion. What's up, guys? I'm Tom Ruti, and I'm here with my friend Garrett Hicks.
Hello.
And we're going to do something different. A while ago, Garrett had his own show, podcast, called Amazing Journey, and he kind of quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not proud of that, but I liked the show. I liked how I was doing it, but I just kind of lost interest in it after a little while. I tend to do that with the things that I pick up. And not Triple Threat, because I got other people to keep me accountable.
There you go. Well, what happened was, on his last episode, he promised he would review an album, which he ultimately never got around to doing. So we are finally going to give it finality, and we're going to complete the amazing journey, so to speak. And yeah, and we're already 2 minutes in, and I'm already being...
Let the puns begin.
Oh, please don't. Anyway, so that album was for Simon and Garfunkel's Parsley, Sage, Rosemary And Thyme. This was their third studio album. I requested that you review this because you had previously done their Sound of Silence album, which I know that you enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah, it was a good little album.
And I did too. So we're going to review the album, and we're going to go track by track, and we're going to do, like I said, the proper review that this album deserved a while ago.
Yeah.
So let's just get right into it. I know that, Garrett, this was a new listen for you because I have been familiar with this album for a number of years now. So, we're going to see how we feel about certain tracks. Maybe one likes it a bit other than the other one, or just things like that. But let me ask you, since this was your first time listening to it, did you go in with any expectation with Sounds of Silence, and what did you get out of it?
Well, to be fair, I had heard, some of the bigger ones out of this, like Homeward Bound and Scarborough Fair, Canticle. And I think I'd heard Feelin' Groovy, because I looked at the B-side to Sound of Silence. And
what a contrasting single.
Right?
Yeah.
And actually, like, just now researching for the show that we're now doing wasn't the first time I've listened to this, because I actually did end up listening to all of the album and writing the script for most of the script for a Triple Threat, and I just stopped for an Amazing Journey, and I just stopped halfway through. So it was nice to come back to this and see if any of my opinions had changed, and some of them have. As for the album itself, like the first impressions you were asking about, it comes across to me as, Sounds of Silence, as good as it is, it's very much kind of jumbled together, because they had their first album and that didn't do well, so they said, friggin'...
We're done.
Yeah, they went their separate ways for a little while, and someone decided to stick drums and guitar on the title track of their second album.
Right, I think the story was, on their first album, is the original Sound of Silence, the acoustic version.
The better one.
I think some radio stations picked that up, started playing it, got the song its popularity. Their producer, Tom Wilson, decided to capitalize on said radio success and overdub the drums and electric guitars. Sort of with Paul Simon and Garfunkel's permission. They were kind of just like, yeah, whatever, the song was a failure, do what you want to do, and then it became a hit, and so they're pressured to make their second album, Sounds of Silence.
Yeah, with, I think, some outtakes or something, like stuff that
Paul had already written.
Stuff he had on his first solo album from London.
65-ish.
Yeah. And some of those leftovers trickled down to this album as well, I believe. Yeah. I
did a little bit of research too.
And so this one comes together as a much more cohesive album, and it seems to have more of a focus. And the production, of course, is better because, they actually went in to make an album for this one instead of, like, dragging the leftovers together. And I just... We'll get into the details, but overall, I think I like Sound of Silence more, anyway.
I would agree with you, which is not a very popular opinion. If you go back and you look at a bunch of Simon and Garfunkel albums and like where, like, you know how like Rolling Stone magazine does their issues, like certain artists, and they'll do like a review for each album. If they ever did one, I would imagine they would mention that each album got better. In some respects, I will say that Parsley, Sage, Rosemary And Thyme, in some parts, is a better album. I think it's better produced.
Yeah.
I think it's more complex than Sound of Silence. But I do enjoy Sounds of Silence a bit more.
Yeah, I feel like Sounds has more of a variety of sounds in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it got a range of different songs with, you know, the sort of harder rock sound of the single, and you got the weird kind of folk song ballad weirdness of awesomeness of Richard Cory.
Then you have the pretty sweet April Comes She Will.
Yeah.
The sad Leaves That Are Green.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Somewhere They Can't Find Me, which is really just like a mashup song in a sense, where it's like throw these songs in a blender and see what we. And even Angie, which is a good song, but it's a cover.
And it's also an instrumental.
Right.
And that's like, oh wow. It's not something you expect from a duo where one of them only sings.
It's what I call the Please Please Me effect. We got to make an album. What do we know? What can we record?
Got to just put all that we know on this album.
Yeah, we have 12 tracks. We've done 8. Do this one next.
Yeah.
Which you know, it does not mean it's bad. Like I said, I enjoy Sound of Silence a bit more, but I do recognize that a lot of critics think Parsley, Sage, Rosemary And Thyme is a step forward. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's not my personal favorite between the two. I'm just going to make that clear.
Yeah, it's a more, you know, mature album in the terms of their musicianship and their production and everything. Mm-hmm. You know, it is, as you say, a better album, but it's not the one I prefer.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's some quick backstory on the album. It was released in October 1966, so it will be 50 years old this year. It reached number 4 in the charts in Rolling Stone magazine's 500 albums. They put this at number 202.
Did Sounds of Silence make that list?
No, it did not. But essentially, like I said, this was made. What?
I said I get it.
Yeah. Like I said, this was made after the success of Sounds of Silence. They were able to go in and spend a lot more time making this album. I did some research, and it says here the budget for this album was upward of $30,000, which was rare at that time for an album.
Jeez.
Because they really spend a lot of time with production, instrumentation, also producing. The song Scarborough Fair, Art Garfunkel has admitted that the two of them had a big hand in mixing the song, as well as, you know, recording it and singing it, and even writing a little bit of it. We'll talk about that.
That's good. I always like to hear when groups try their hand at self-producing, and you don't even realize it because it sounds so good.
Right. Well, here's the funny thing. An executive from Columbia, I found this great quote that said something along the lines of, "Boy, you guys really take a lot of time to make a record." And I have to laugh because their next album, Bookends, is bigger. So if you thought Parsley, Sage, Rosemary And Thyme took a lot of time to record, you didn't know what they had up their sleeve. So I had to laugh at that. 2 songs from this album were actually already recorded, not just written, recorded. Homeward Bound appeared on the UK pressing of Sounds of Silence, and Flowers Never Bend With the Rainfall was the B-side of I Am a Rock. And as you said, 59th Street song was the B-side of Sounds of Silence. And you're right, a lot of songs, I think, what was it, 3 songs appeared on Paul Simon's songbook album. Patterns, Flowers Never Been With the Rainfall, and the one that I cannot pronounce, A Simple Desultory Philip.
Yeah, I'll handle that when we come to it.
So that was sort of the backstory for this album. As we mentioned, it was more produced, it was more handled with, it felt like an actual project as opposed to, you know, just, you know, we have X number of days to make an album to capitalize on our success of Sounds of Silence. Mm-hmm. There were 4 singles from this album, Homeward Bound, The Dangling Conversation, Scarborough Fair, and 59th Street Bridge Song. So this album features a lot of well-known songs. Those 4 pop up on numerous Paul Simon and Simon Garfunkel compilations. I think they were very proud of those songs. As for me, just kind of getting my feeling before we go, and like I said, I do prefer Sounds of Silence more, and those 4 songs that I mentioned are probably 4 of the best on the album, because a lot of the other songs, I don't want to call them filler, but they're nice to listen to. That may be an unpopular opinion for anyone watching this, but I have to be honest.
Sure.
So should we just get right into it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the song. So side one opens with Scarborough Fair. Like I said, it was a single, reached number 11 on the charts. Not bad. Lovely song. It's definitely one of their best songs of their entire career, I would say.
It's Scarborough Fair and Canticle.
Yes.
You should notice. Because when they would do it live, they would only do the Scarborough Fair half of it. Because otherwise they'd be singing over themselves at the same time, which works on the record, definitely.
Yeah.
But live it wouldn't jive.
It wouldn't jive, yeah.
Especially because part of what's so great about the song is their harmonies.
Right.
That's also just the song, their group.
Yes. Lovely harmonies. For anyone who's wondering what Canticle is a reworking of lyrics from an early Paul Simon tune called The Side of the Hill, which was an anti-war song. I don't know if he ever released it, but essentially he took those words and made a new melody to weave in and out of Scarborough Fair. So if anybody was wondering what that is, it's sort of an original that they weaved into this. You're right, the harmonies on this are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the harpsichord playing.
Yes.
I think it's played extremely well. And yeah, what can I say? I think it's a great song.
Yeah, my favorite parts of it, of course, are, we've already mentioned the harmony vocals and also the layers of the two songs over each other, how it just weaves together so well, along with the guitar and the harpsichord. Everything about this song is weaving, lots of layers of it. And then also just like on top of it, you have this very sort of ethereal glockenspiel.
Yeah.
Which I've always up for good use of a glockenspiel.
Yeah. Very, very sparse playing.
Yeah. And also, man, the lyrics on it are just incredible.
I love the contrast, because Scarborough Fair, I always considered it one of those like mystery type songs, because it was a song saying, tell my love to do these, and if you read the lyrics, they're all impossible things.
Right.
But if she does it, she'll be a true friend of mine. While mixed in with lyrics about soldiers going off to fight in wars that they long ago forgotten, or a war is nothing but just to kill soldiers. Those two ideas weaving back and forth. You hear Scarborough Fair maybe 1 second, and the next second you hear the lyrics of Canticle a bit more clear. It's just a wonderful piece of production and writing.
Yeah, it's definitely a song that you have to listen to a few times to like fully get it, and definitely through headphones, because why would you bother trying to listen to it through speakers?
Yeah.
I especially like the natural imagery in Scarborough. In both of them, like the deep forest green in Canticle, and just even the title of the album comes from this song, where the words are just kind of placed there, and this is from the traditional poem Scarborough Fair. They didn't write it. They didn't write the lyrics for the first section of it. The words Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme are just kind of placed there after the hook of the lyric. And it doesn't tell any story, but it definitely sets the mood and the scene immediately. And it also sets a mood for the rest of the album. This album, as much as this song, is also very pastoral generally.
And I think it also gives you an idea of the production that they're going to be using on this song. Like I said, it opens with just the one guitar playing, and then their voices come in, and then there's the glockenspiel and the harpsichord and the layered harmonies.
It builds so well.
It gives you an idea that this is a much more structured album in terms of, like I said, the production and the instrumentation that's used on it. And it's got to be one of my favorites, and I think it is, out of their entire career, one of their best songs.
I agree.
I don't think anybody would argue with that. So the next track up is Patterns. Cool song to listen to. The bent notes, I really dig on the guitar. The percussion, the vocal melody. It's cool to listen to, but I'd be honest, I would never play this one just by itself.
No.
No. I'm like I said, this is why we do the contrasting. I've heard this album for years, and you just heard it. So.
I really like Patterns a lot. You know, the sort of I was kind of stricken, like I was struck by when the guitar part sounds just boom. It's like, oh god, that doesn't sound right, but sounds so good. and then I really like how, especially with Art Garfunkel singing the way he does in this one, with just like totally mischievous the whole time, and he's kind of whispering it, you know, and it's sort of a teasing melody a lot of the way through, and the harmonies on it are really cool.
Oh yeah, you can never complain about Simon Garfunkel's harmonies.
Well, these ones in particular, because they don't like usually follow the main melody of the voice. They kind of interject in and out, and some of them are kind of half shouted. I really liked that. I thought the bongos really energetic the way they're going the whole time.
Yeah.
And I also like the bridge in there, to kind of randomly being a little bit of a jig in this sort of dark and teasing song. Nice little bit of contrast. And probably, I think, my favorite part of it is the lyric about the rat dying.
Yeah.
Where they just momentarily put Art's voice through a filter, make it sound like he's yelling it from down a metal tunnel.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I like listening to that. I mean, like I said, that's a good showcase for the production.
Absolutely.
I thought there's a lot of things. I should clarify. There's a lot of things I do like about this song. I don't hate this song, but I never find myself looking at it and saying, oh, I'm never gonna remember this as one of their absolute best.
Sure.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of Richard Corey.
Just the teasing, all the minor chords.
Yeah, I like it when Simon and Garfunkel are mean. You know?
Something I thought I'd never hear.
Right. And also because another reason I like it is because I think the theme of it, like the lyrical theme of it, is something you don't hear like anywhere else. Like, I don't think I've ever heard it before. Is that life can be predictable, but still uncontrollable.
I think the whole idea is that life is like a maze. Sometimes if you know where you're going, then you don't really need to think too much, because maybe you know the end, and then either that or you hit a dead end. That's what I certainly got from it.
I got the idea of a lot of just the general feeling of inevitability about it. Like, you can see where you'll be going, where you'll be ending up. You can see the route that you'll be going along, and there's not really anything you can do about it.
That's true. Well, should we move on then?
Yeah.
So track 3 is Cloudy. A really nice, pleasant tune after listening to Patterns. Another one that I said is pleasant to listen to. I really don't have much to say for this one.
I don't either, actually.
I think it's fine. It's pleasant.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah. I'm not too fond of it, especially coming after Patterns, which is probably one of the songs that has the most balls, I guess, on this album. And then Cloudy is just so lightweight, really.
Right.
And like I mentioned, the glockenspiel was used so well in Scarborough. It comes back here where they totally overuse it. Like the whole time, it's just like, okay, all right, you're being sweet and stuff. I get it.
Yeah, this has never been one of my...
It was so much fluff, and I just felt like it was filler.
That's one I said, like, I wouldn't describe these songs as filler, but a lot of these I listen to, and I'm just like, okay, that song was done. Next.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about this song. It's nice to listen to. I don't want to pull my headphones out when I'm listening to it.
Yeah. It gets stuck in my head, though.
It does. I was actually singing it on my way up here.
God.
That Simon Garfunkel, you teasers. Anyway, next track is Homeward Bound. Like I said, this was on the UK Sound of Silence, so it did not appear on the UK pressing of this album, but here in the US, we got it anyway. This was the first single, I believe. It went to number 5. I told you this was not the first version of this song that I heard.
Yeah.
The first version of this song I ever heard was on Saturday Night Live, where Paul Simon sang it with George Harrison, which I almost kind of consider unpopular opinion, one of the best versions of this song I've ever heard. I think it's another one of their best songs. Like I said, it showed up in a lot of their compilations. So it really shows that they like the song, people like the song. I used to hate this studio version, I'm not going to lie, because there was the drums, and because I grew up listening to that Saturday Night Live version where it was just nice and acoustic. I don't mind the drums now, but I feel like it's more personal and more intimate when it's just live, solo. Just you can play to the tempo,
sure,
and do, whatever you want to. I really like this song.
I think it's excellent too. It's definitely grown on me a lot since I wrote the first Amazing Journey script for this album. Yeah. It wasn't one that I was considering as like I did the standout section. It wasn't one I was considering for that. But now listening back to it, I was like, I should have put that there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really like, the chorus is just immeasurably catchy,
mm-hmm.
right? You mentioned you're not too fond of the production on this one and the extra instruments, but I really liked that and I've heard the Simon and Harrison version. I've heard I think there was a live version on one of the compilations I have of theirs, and I like the acousticness of those versions definitely, but the drums and bass and things really helped me. I feel like the song really swells as it goes from the verse into the chorus it has those extra instruments on it. On the lyrical side, I really like a lot of the phrasing in this. Like just listening to the fun, like I mentioned, the chorus. Mm-hmm. Half of why I think it's so fun to sing is because the lyrics are just so excellently placed metrically. And
I would agree.
And also just the words are fun to form in your mouth. It's something you can't really describe without sounding weird. I think probably my favorite line of it is, and all of it comes back to me in shades of mediocrity.
Like emptiness and harmony, I need someone to comfort me.
Sure. I just meant the first bit of that.
I love them all.
Yeah.
I'm a
just
sucker.
The essence of all the right vowels of it and the consonants of all the T's and everything come together. It really just sort of flows off the tongue excellently. I love it.
It really is one of their best. There's really not much I can say about this one because it's Homeward Bound. It's one of their best known songs for many, many reasons that we listed off and many more.
Right.
I really can't add anything else except, like I said, I don't hate the drum bass part, but it's kind of like Sound of Silence. Like you and I, we don't mind the hit single version. But we're not really going to play that one as opposed to other versions.
Yeah, it loses something with the overproduction, as we've said. I feel differently about this one. I really feel like the production adds to it.
I wouldn't say it loses to it. I just personally feel when it's done solo, it's more personal, more intimate.
I haven't heard the acoustic versions recently though. I want to check that out now.
Yeah, my personal favorite would, like I said, is probably the Simon and Harrison one.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we move on over to the Big Green Pleasure Machine.
The big bright green pleasure machine.
Nice to listen to. Nice.
Is it?
It's nice. That's what the word I said. It's nice.
I guess.
Where are you going with this?
Well, the only thing I can really say I like about it is the guitar on it. The sort of riff or hook or whatever it would be. Like, that's nice. But the organ is like constantly beating you over the head, and I'm not a huge... The lyrics are kind of feel like an afterthought. The whole song really feels like an afterthought to me.
Can I tell you something about the lyrics? I actually just looked up, like, today what the lyrics were and what they were about. And according
it's
to...
an ad for some product.
According to Wikipedia, the Great Place, it's a combination of advertisement and the hippie culture. So that's... I have it right here. The word I've described the lyrics, cool-ish. Because, like, it's cool because as a Simon Garfunkel fan, they don't really do a lot of these kind of witty songs, like I said, writing about advertising that never happens. Mm. But do I enjoy listening to it? Ish. Yeah. So it's cool-ish.
Yeah.
That's what I describe this song.
I don't know. It just seems like the people, the higher up said to them, Paul, Art, you got a lot of slow songs on this album. You got to put in something upbeat. And Paul's like,
get out the pen.
Pleasure, ads,
hippies.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do.
Art, let's do this. It just felt really just rushed and thrown together to me.
Yeah.
And even on the production side, kind of sloppy. Like they didn't sync the last line of the vocals correctly.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. It feels like it's just like, you know what? We got it. We got the take. Just
fine.
Yeah, I'm done with this song.
No. And this song, according to the Wikipedia ad, was used in the film The Graduate.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being used.
It was in the drive-in diner thing.
Yeah.
They had just this in the background as the sort of upbeat song that they play at the diner.
Simon Garfunkel had other upbeat songs before The Graduate.
Like,
I just have to laugh.
One that you would be okay not actually listening to, just being in the background.
Well, see, that's the point. I don't even remember the scene it was from because I wasn't even paying attention to that. No, I remember the scene. I just don't remember this was the song that was used.
Yeah.
Because I'm more invested in the story.
They were also talking over it the whole time, so
right.
That made it even better.
That made it even a lot better. Speaking of Graduate, we totally forgot to mention that Scarborough Fair was used in The Graduate.
Yes. I forgot where.
It's used in a bit where, if I remember correctly, Benjamin is kind of just walking around, like, I want to say like the zoo area or like Central Park area.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
My only problem is that song is overused in that movie because you hear it once when like it's this really nice montage where his character is thinking and trying to sort things out, and then it's used in the next scene, just an instrumental, and I'm just like, I already heard this, but that's just me not wanting too much of a good thing.
Yeah, well, Sounds of Silence is used 3 times in that movie.
Yeah, but there it's not.
It actually makes a lot of sense. I wrote a whole paper about the use of Sound of Silence.
And it's not in the next scene. That's what my problem was here in Scarborough Fair in the movie. Just, in this scene, okay, nice montage. Next scene, oh, you played it again.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's move on to the last song on side 1. This is the 59th Street Bridge song, parentheses, Feelin' Groovy. This is another one of the best ones, I really have to admit. Like I said, this was released as a single, and of the 4 singles, I think they're the best of their entire career. Definitely one of the best on this album. It's so lovely and innocent and sweet, and perfect length, I may add. This is like barely 2 minutes.
It's not even on my file.
Well, there you go. Like, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's pleasant. It's nice. When I say pleasant, I don't mean that it's just pleasant. It has a pleasant message.
Are you sure?
And it doesn't overstay its welcome. Care to add?
I think it is merely pleasant.
You're not really...
No, it seems so weird for a song about going on the town and looking for fun to be so surprisingly laid back. It just, again, it comes off like Cloudy. It's just kind of lightweight in there. Little fluffy. It's better than Cloudy.
Well, that's what I say. Cloudy is longer. It kind of overstays its welcome.
A little bit. This one, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those lesser numbers that I feel if they'd gone with something more ballsy, they would have made the album better.
This is one when they play it live. They keep it the same length, where it's one that it pleases the crowd, and it's that nice bit. It's like that nice bit in the concert where for a minute and a half, let's sing something happy that the audience knows, and they keep it that same like minute and a half length. I feel it's more intimate. The solo live versions that they do with just the 2 of them and guitar, they harmonize extremely well on this song and on live. And that ending scatting bit, da da da, live they do a little variations of it each time. Like I said, it doesn't overstay its welcome, even live. It's a pleasant song, and I think this really meant a lot to them because they would pull it out a lot, and it was always a nice, yay, it's the song that that we all know.
It also has, yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and it does have the very dated subtitle.
Feeling groovy.
Groovy. God.
It was. I don't mean to be too defensive. It was the time. Like I said, we're talking
totally
about the
was.
hippie culture.
Yeah.
This song was a hit, not for them, for another group. I can't remember their name.
Oh yeah.
So it was like the perfect. It was. It's like all you. It's like all you need is love. It was kind of released at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
But maybe it's not, obviously not for everyone. Well, it's okay. So now we flip the album and we go to side 2, which it starts with the Dangling Conversation, which was the 4th single. Didn't do as well this time. Only went to number 25. This one, I think, is not just one that's just nice to listen to. I really like this song. I think I've liked it ever since I first heard it when I was 14. I didn't get it, but even now, I can just admire just how beautiful it is. I love the images it sets up. It's a still life watercolor of a now late afternoon. The sun shines through the curtain lace and shadows watch the room all over.
I think it's wash the room,
but
still, yeah.
Yeah, the imagery is so.
It totally
so
paints the picture exactly in your mind. So just the pinpoint accuracy and detail of these descriptions and the lyrics is one of my favorite parts about it. I think this song probably has more thematically going on than any other. Mm-hmm. It's obvious that lyrically they put a lot of care into it, that Art sat down and really thought about what he was singing and the way he was going to sing it. Mm-hmm. And it addresses a theme that, again, another one that you don't see often. That's something that Simon Garfunkel do, I notice. They address themes you don't think about regularly.
Yeah, that's one thing that kind of makes them. Yeah. A lot of their songs, they can get away with lyrics that's like, what other pop singers at that time were singing that? Well, no one.
Right, and for this they go for, it's not a breakup song, per se. Mm-hmm. It's in the process of realizing that, oh God, we're going to have to break up at some point.
Two lovers who can't really communicate.
Yeah, the Dangling Conversation is one of the signs that they're growing apart, mm-hmm. which is evidenced in, the imagery of the song and how they're sitting, I think, on opposite sides of a table. Mm-hmm. And reading. They're both reading books. So they're not talking to each other.
And by completely different people.
Yeah, Emily Dickinson and Robert Frost. The shut-in at home. Robert Frost, an extremely famous and well-known poet. Mm-hmm. Both poets, but as different as they could get, probably. Just about. Mm-hmm. And I really like the harmonies in this one especially. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, it definitely sounds like Garfunkel really took to heart what the lyrics were doing, and probably I think that the cleverest section of the song is the musical imagery in the middle-ish, mm-hmm. Where they describe the two people as melodies in different songs, mm-hmm. and how they went out of time and became syncopated, and they actually use syncopated harmony vocals, yeah. And I was like, that is genius! Yeah. That is so cool.
This song really is like a great piece of work.
Yeah.
And especially, you mentioned the instrumentation. I'm sitting here, I'm listing guitar, glockenspiel, light percussion, heavy strings.
Yeah, they bring in the orchestra at just the right time, and it doesn't become an overarching presence in the song. It perfectly adds to it just the right amount.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
About this song? This may be an unpopular opinion, but I've always felt this ever since I first heard it. Does it sound like it's a bit oversung? Not the whole song, but in the middle bit where, yes, we speak the things that matter with words that must be said. Is the theater really dead? I always felt that was like a tiny bit oversung. I get that it is dramatic and it's, a lost connection that we're trying to establish.
I don't feel like it's overdone.
I wasn't talking about the lyrics, just the vocal performance.
Right, that was too. I don't feel like it's overdone. I don't feel like it's putting too much emphasis on any one phrase or anything. I feel like is the natural sort of way that someone could sing or even just speak, because a lot of this is kind of almost not sung, especially the section you're talking about. And it seems like he's kind of trying to keep his tone even and choking back some kind of tears or something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's like I heard it today, just listening to it back, and I was thinking, I love so much about this song. As soon as I got to that point, I was like, yeah. bit oversung there. But now that you point that out, now I have like a different perspective on it.
Right.
But that was just me, listening to it. I like so much, and then I got to that part, I was like, oh, but I don't like this part.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. I definitely think this is probably... I think this is the best song on the album.
It's one of the...
It's like up there with Scarborough Fair with the amount of effort they put into it, especially lyrically.
Art Garfunkel was extremely proud of this song. He would even introduce it in concert as my favorite song we've written up to this point.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. So they were extremely proud. This has shown up on a few Simon Garfunkel compilations, and so yeah, it really just is a beautiful piece of work, and it's not a throwaway. No, and it's not just one where it's a simple song. You can really tell that they, like you said, sat down and was thought of this idea, which kind of would echo their next album, Bookends. Just a short connection. There's a song called Overs, which is about two people who realize it's over and no one really knows where to go from there. Whereas the Dang It Conversation, where it's not over, but it's not intact. Yeah. So in a way, I can almost look at this as almost like a prelude to that song, Overs. And yeah, you like Simon Garfunkel, I like them depressing.
I like this one a lot too. This is one of my favorites on there. It was definitely a standout.
It's definitely one of my favorites. It's definitely a standout. So next we get to Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall. As I mentioned earlier, this was kind of an early song. It was the B-side of I'm a Rock. For me, this is another highlight. The lyrics are a bit familiar because they touch on this whole idea of things that either slip away in life or you are questioning things. It's not something that was new to them, and it would certainly not be the last time they'd written about life. But it's still good. I thought this was, like I said, an absolute highlight, and I really like it.
Yeah. I think it's good too. I'm not gonna say it's like
one of their best.
No, it's not. It's not on the level as they could get with Scarborough and Conversation, but it's not as far down as I would rate Cloudy or Feeling Groovy. It just seems somewhere toward the middle of that that spectrum. I like the idea of the theme of the song about not taking life terribly seriously or being okay with being lost. It just really coming right after the heavy amazingness of Conversation. It's just like Conversation seems kind of dropped in the middle of two lighter numbers. I guess that's kind of a theme of this album for me is that they kind of unintentionally go from lightweight to great and heavy.
Sequencing, not so much.
Yeah, the sequencing could have flowed a lot better instead of feeling like I'm jerking from gear 1 to 5.
Yeah.
But as for this one, it's nice. I like the guitar part on it. It really chugs. Yeah, that's all I really got for it. It's okay.
This is one like I said. I said I like Cloudy. I like Big Green Machine. This is one of those where I'm like I really like Flowers Never Bend with the Rainfall, and I've always loved this line, and it strikes me because as they're mentioning, these were lyrics that no other pop singer was singing at the time. The line they always sing in the chorus. So I'll continue to pretend my life will never end.
That is a great line.
That is a great line. I remember when hearing that when I was 14, and how when you're that age, you kind of discover this beauty in rock lyrics. As 14, I was just like, whoa! I'll continue to pretend my life will never end. So that's always stuck with me, and I feel like I'm 14 again every time I listen to this song, just thinking, wow, I really do like this one. Anyway, so let's move on to the next one. I
Okay.
have to take up the CD because I have to pronounce this one.
Oh, I got it. This
Take it away.
is a simple desultory philippic, or How I Was Robert McNamara into Submission.
Why don't you start on this one?
Yeah. Well, I think you know where I'm coming from on this.
Yay, that's why I said go for it.
Yeah, this song is a Bob Dylan satire. And anyone who's listened to my amazing journey / anything I have to say about music knows that I can't stand Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing them make fun of him for about 3 minutes is one of my favorite parts of this album.
Yeah? I thought you were going to hate it, to be honest.
I like it because they're making fun of him.
Not just him, but all sorts of...
folk rock in general.
Folk rock in general.
Folk rock.
Yeah.
I really... Like, it's such a great spoof because it gets everything right in terms of, like, the instruments used on the song, the way the artist singing it.
Yeah.
I can do that now, and you can see it through his nose. They used the harmonica in it and made him drop it, and it sounds better than Dylan.
You did it, not me.
And they put all the drug references in it, and they have these meaningless lyrics that are like so many references to people that you have to know exactly who they are to get the lyrics of it, when really there's nothing to get.
No.
Yeah, it even has references to Bob Dylan himself.
So they reference the whole song in general is a kind of a parody of his song "It's All Right, Ma, I'm Only Bleeding," which is 7 minutes of rambling.
Yeah.
Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon, the handmade blade, the child's balloon, eclipses both the sun and moon. There's lyrics like that where you read into, like, what does that mean? And you're not going to be sitting there. It's probably nothing.
Yes.
Kind of just like this one.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's why this song is kind of a parody of that one, because there's so many lyrics that some deep musical guy would try to look into this one, and I'm like, you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Both those songs have in common. Even outright says "It's all right, Ma," something or other. He doesn't say the full title of Dylan's song, but he does use that phrase, "It's all right, Ma."
Yeah. Yeah. And even I like how they even they're not even above making fun of themselves.
Yeah.
Or they mentioned that at one point they use a lot of names as verbs in this song, like in the title, How I Was Robert McNamara into Submission. Robert McNamara was the Secretary of, I think it was Defense through most of the 60s.
It's not just him.
Not a terribly popular character because he was doing a lot of the stuff in Vietnam. Anyway, and they mentioned that at some point the singer is the narrator, whatever, is Art Garfunkel, and I was like,
Funkel, they're Beatled, they're Rolling Stones, they're Phil Spector.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun hearing that, and even dipping into a little self-parody. It was nice to see that.
It's nice.
Side of them.
It's nice because I feel like if they didn't do that, I as a fan would have been like, come on, guys, really. Yeah. But the fact they were making fun of themselves, I'm like, okay, all right, you can, I'll forgive you for that.
Yeah, and you don't see a lot of humor and a lot of Simon Garfunkel like this.
You don't. To an extent, there are a lot of songs that have humorous lines, but to do a full 3-minute whatever of this,
to do an entire song dedicated to joking around and saying, "Isn't this Dylan guy funny?"
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this song because it's by no means bad. Like I can look at it and chuckle. It's interesting to see him reference other artists, and like you said, I do agree. As a Simon Garfunkel fan who's listened to all their stuff, there's not a lot of humor that lasts an entire song. So this one was kind of, it was new, something they had not done before, and I don't think they even did since then. My only problem with the song is if I hear it on the wrong day, it can be a bit annoying. That's it. Other than that, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, good song, good parody. I understand what they're doing, and you know me, I'm a Dylan fan, and I'm not offended by this song. Even, dropping I've Been Rolling Stone and Beatles, kind of, those two references back to back, kind of poking fun at that rival between those two groups.
Sure.
And so, I don't mind the song, but like I said, if I hear it on a bad day, I'm just like, oh god. But for what they were going for, they did a good job.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to For Emily, Wherever I May Find... Is it Wherever? I'm just gonna... Whenever I May Find Her. I'm getting titles all wrong tonight.
Is it when or where?
For Emily, Whenever I May Find Her.
Oh, man.
Such a gorgeous Garfunkel vocal. A great acoustic playing also by Paul Simon. And I've heard outtakes where it's just him laying down the guitar part, and it's really beautiful just what he does. He takes, really good care. In the outtakes, you can hear him tuning his guitar for like a full minute before he starts to make sure he gets it exactly right. And I thought this was an absolute beautiful song. Garfunkel does this song justice, not just here, but in pretty much every live version that Simon and Garfunkel have released of this song. I feel Garfunkel still does an amazing job. This has got to be one of the highlights for me.
Yeah, it's definitely different sound to his voice than you normally would hear. Because a lot of his vocals tend to be very, close, very intimate sort of things, and have a very sweet sound to his voice. It's very high and almost nasally, like not the Bob Dylan satire nasally, but still, you get the idea. And in this, he really gets. It really feels like he's putting his throat into it especially toward the end. It kind of makes me wish the song was a little longer. Yeah. Because right now, as the way it is here, it doesn't stay long enough to keep my interest, to make me, not to keep my interest.
Would you say kind of it builds to something, and then when it kind of ends, it's like, oh.
It's just like abrupt.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I do agree. I've always felt that, even though I really do like performance, it's just like, one more verse, please.
I think it's only like 1:50.
2:05, according to the back of the CD.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, I was thinking of the next one. It's shorter. It's the vocal on it is really passionate, and the guitar, as you mentioned, is meticulous, but also very simple. Because as I've said in my Sound of Silence review, that Paul Simon is the master of simplicity in songs. Whether it's not usually lyrically, but a lot of the time. And also just the arrangement of things, whether it's just him on an acoustic guitar with a partner, be it George Harrison or Art Garfunkel, or just by himself. And then the arrangements of things and how it just feels like you could pick this up and play it in a day.
It does have that feeling. What I mostly took away from this is that Garfunkel doesn't get a whole lot of leads on lead vocals. So
he has a lot of co-leads.
Co-leads, or mainly Simon takes the majority of the song, or they harmonize throughout the entire thing. Really, this Bridge Over Troubled Water, and maybe a few others that I could look up, really Garfunkel really sings the entire way through. It could have, dare I say it, been like the George Harrison composition, in terms of like, we gotta have a showcase for George on the Beatles album. We have a showcase for Art on this album, and I think they really did a really good job, and it really just shows that Garfunkel really does have a beautiful voice.
Definitely. Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one, which is A Poem on the Underground Wall. Now I have to share a story about this song, about how they wrote it. For anyone who doesn't know, this is their first album, Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m. And you'll notice that the title is really big. Well, the story is, they're in a subway station, as you can see. When they went down to take the photograph, or the series of photographs, they get back to develop the photos, and they can see somewhere someone has written, as Art Garfunkel called it, the all-familiar suggestion, the F word. And they actually wanted that on the cover, and Columbia Records was like, no freaking way. You can keep the picture, we're just going to cover it. And so they cover 2/3 of the picture.
Oh.
So if anyone's wondering why that title was so big, there is your answer. So this song was sort of inspired by that incident.
I figured it would be something like that. I would have gotten the impression that it was that like Paul Simon or one of them actually saw it being written and decided to write and Paul decided to write the lyrics around it, but I like that story just as much. I really like how odd the song is. It took me a long time to even think of what I could say about this one.
I don't have much to say about it either.
Yeah, and
it's what? How long? Minute 52.
That's and I think musically the best part about it is the beat and how it starts immediately with the kick drum and just is relentless throughout, and it feels like you're in the shoes of the man defacing the wall and, being very secretive, but also trying to do it quickly so that no one sees you and you get in trouble.
Interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah. Just the way I listened to it the one time while I was writing this last night, I just kind of got this sort of tension listening to it and how fast it was and the beat of it. Just made me want to tense up and get moving.
Just don't go spray painting words on subway walls.
Yeah. And I think it's cool how they call it a poem.
Oh, yeah.
When all it is just
the F word. Yeah, I know. That's one thing that I can appreciate the humor. I used to not like the drums on it because this was one that I first heard the live version and I felt it was again a lot more personal. Maybe not so personal, but it was more sparse live, obviously, with just the two voices and the guitar. This was one that, like I said, it's short, it's nice, and it's done. I've never really had a strong feeling for this one. But like I said, even the songs on this album that I don't like, I can still at least say they're nice, they're pleasant. And this is one of those... and because it is so short, I don't have much to say about it, except that I'm like, it's got good harmony, good guitar playing, things you would expect in a Simon Garfunkel song, and then it's over.
Yeah.
So I really could not say much about this song.
It's hard to say much about any song that's not even 2 minutes long.
Right. So that's poem on the Underground Wall. So to round out side 2 and to round out the album is 7 O'Clock News / Silent Night. This might actually be my favorite song on the entire album. It's
definitely one of the better ones. And they didn't even really write it. Silent Night, of course, is a traditional song. And all Paul had to do was arrange a guitar part and a piano
part and add some harmonies.
Yeah.
They just do the first verse twice.
Yeah, the one that everybody knows. And I don't know who it was that wrote or read the news bulletin over that, but it was definitely whoever's idea was to actually do it the way they did it was really
genius.
Smart. Because it juxtaposes the Silent Night. Everything is so pleasant and serene, and then you get the newscaster talking about murderers and
wars
and the war in Vietnam,
deaths and political rallies, and
all these things
without one good story in there, which I thought was so beautiful. In a way, I have to say, and this may be an unpopular opinion, this song is probably not that dated. I get that
it's not. It totally isn't.
I mean, I get
the only thing I feel like is dated about it is the mentioning of the House Un-American Activities Council.
American Activities, you hear that. You hear Martin Luther King Jr. Obviously, he was alive at that point.
Right.
Comedian Lenny Bruce had passed. If I had never heard of Lenny Bruce, and I heard this song just without going into knowing who any of these people were, I would still be awestruck with it.
Yeah.
I don't think the song is that dated. I would love to see someone cover this song and insert news clips from all the things we see today. Because I think it would really just show that this was a great idea back then, and it still is a great idea now. I really don't think the song is that dated. It's almost like, I was thinking about this earlier, the song Give Me Some Truth by John Lennon. He mentions Tricky Dicky, President Nixon. But the song is not that dated. You can still aim Give Me Some Truth at politicians today.
Yeah, and Tricky Dick is, such a vague nickname that even no one who had even heard of Richard Nixon would get the idea of who you're talking about.
So I think this song, I hear it and I'm just, I'm blown away by the sheer beauty of it, and just, the idea of having that newscaster. And one thing that I've noticed listening to the song over the years, by the time they get to the second verse, the newscaster is still reading, and the singers, Simon and Garfunkel, get a little bit louder in the second verse. It's something I've noticed.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe trying to fight the newscaster, maybe trying to...
Not the newscaster, but the news.
Yeah.
Try to keep the hope there, even if it's useless and even silly to try to do that.
Mm-hmm. It's the one thing I've noticed. By the time they get to that second verse, they get a little bit louder singing it. The words are a little bit more clear, and it came across as very thoughtful production, I think, which really, like we said, can be found a lot of times on this album, and it's definitely, it has to be the side closer or the album closer. I really could not picture Cloudy coming after this one.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably, like, thematically, it's probably the heaviest song. Mm-hmm. It kind of leaves you... It's one of those, like, when the record winds down and stops on the machine, and you're like, whew.
I know.
Gotta listen to something else now.
Yeah. Did you get that feeling when you first heard it?
Yeah, it was like, God, that just kind of leaves me... It was like... You hear an album of, decent to good songs, and you're left with this sort of thing. It's like, how do I respond to that? And like, I guess I'll go do something.
I know.
Watch TV.
No, believe me, I get the exact same feeling. Even now, having heard it, several times, at the end, I'm just like, it really is just a fantastic. It's like I said, it's probably my favorite song on the album. There's so much in it.
Definitely.
So,
despite how simple it is.
Exactly. So that is the album, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme. Just a couple quick thoughts closing the album. I think it was the quote-unquote necessary step forward from Sounds of Silence, in terms that Sound of Silence was a bunch of songs. That really was what it was. That one was decent to good, and this one was kind of the same decent to good, but they upped the level on production, songwriting, singing on a couple of songs. There were one or two that we pointed out we were kind of like, eh. And then the next album, Bookends, that one is always battling with Bridge Over Troubled Water, their last album, as my two favorites. I think between Sound of Silence and Bookends, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme fits right in the middle, like a nice stepping stone, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Between Sound of Silence and this one, I'm going to go to Sound of Silence more. Between this and Bookends and Bridge Over Water, I'm definitely going to go to those two before Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme. But I can still pick it up, and like I said, going through this review, there were some songs that I remember just listening to and being like, whatever, and listening back, I was like, that one was pretty good. Or that one, my opinion hadn't really changed that much.
Yeah.
But it is good.
You're going to give that a number?
I'm going to give it what you said in your amazing journey. You would either give it thumbs... I'm going to give it thumbs middle.
Thumbs middle, okay.
Which is, it's still good for Simon and Garfunkel. Like I said, I'm a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan, but I can admit that it has its moments. Thumbs middle for me.
Sure, okay. God. So, I gave Sounds of Silence a thumbs up, if I recall correctly.
I believe so.
For this one, while I do think it's not as good an album overall as Silence is, some of the songs individually are better than most of the ones on Sounds.
I would agree.
Like, your Dangly Conversation and your Scarborough Fair Canticle and News and Silent Night. I think I'm also going to give this one a thumbs up.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I would definitely, give it an asterisk and say listen to it after Sounds of Silence, because it only makes sense to do that, to see how the artists grow with it.
I think if I were putting it in numbers, like a thumbs middle would be like exactly the half. If I were to give it out of 5, I'd probably give it a 3. Like just above halfway.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, 3 out of 5 TARDISes would probably cover it.
All right, so that is our review of Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. So let us know what you think of the album and what some tracks that you love off this album. Garrett, how do you feel? We finally completed the amazing journey.
A door is closed in my life.
Yeah, so there you go. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more and like this video. Check out Garrett on YouTube and check out the old episodes of Amazing Journey. I'll put a link down in the description for that. And yeah,
they're still there.
I think it is.
I don't think Mixcloud would delete them, but I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
I haven't been there in weeks, years even.
Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and Garrett, thank you so much for coming on here.
Definitely, thanks for
and
listening to me.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye. Well, shit.
Try again.
This is...
Take 2.